Forsyth County, and we also work with the Forsyth County 4-H at times as well. But we also talk and do other programs also. So, a little bit about our background. Sometimes, grades. Everybody's high school, right? So I can kind of get a feel. Am I allowed to ask any ninth graders? I'm just going to get a feel for you, okay? A couple ninth, 10, 11, 12. Well, where are you all going to college if you're 12?
No idea.
No idea yet? Who else?
No idea.
No idea yet?
Well, y'all are upcoming 12th graders, right?
Yeah, so you're,
Yeah.
Oh, well then I'm.
okay. Anybody else? Oh, that's fine. Anybody else thinking of any particular colleges?
I want to go to the Naval Academy.
Naval Academy, cool.
I want to go to UGA for poultry science.
Okay, great.
It's between UGA and Covenant.
Okay. What do you think?
I want to go to UGA for
Okay, that's great, yeah. Does anybody else want to share with it? Okay. So it's always good, I do ask that because I know that it's good to start thinking about it even as young as, ninth or earlier and up until when you are a senior and exactly if you've applied or not, I know that, but that is great. So everybody here, you're in the wildlife track, so, just a few thoughts. Why did you choose wildlife track? Just a couple of you, if you want to share why. Just kind of, yes.
my parents both work for DNR, and so I've always grown up around it. So.
That's exciting. Okay, so they work for DNR, and they still work for DNR. They work nice. Anybody else?
I love the outdoors.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay. Well, that's great. Yeah. So, so just a little background on Larry and myself. So, we went to Georgia Tech. I have an engineering degree. Larry has a physics degree. He was a scientist, I could like to say, but he was a scientist, researcher. I did some work for a while, and then I was home with the children, and then so after that, then I went into education, and then that's when I went and became an educator as well. So I'd like to combine sort of my engineering mind along with my educating mind. And then we fell into the Master Naturalist group when we retired, and that's just been like the best world of bringing everything together. So we enjoy really talking with you all. Okay, so today we will be talking about baths. All right, so everybody get my paper. Larry, would you just, thanks. So what I want you to do before we get started is just your thoughts on bats. Just what you think about bats. Just when you say. When you say bats, like bats, what do you come to mind? You're feeling your thought like
Echolocation.
Yeah. Now you all will be an interesting group because you chose to be in the wildlife track. If I were doing it with some other people, I get mixed emotions on this. But kind of your emotion, your feeling, just when you bats, just kind of write some thoughts on there.
I kind of took all the pins. Does anybody need something to write with? Y'all got markers?
I'll just give you about.
What am I writing?
It's just when I say bats, what your thoughts are, just what you think when you hear like bats.
That'll work.
And I have pencils too if you need pencils.
Oh, no, it's on, okay. You got it.
I'll just give you a minute or two, just kind of an interesting.
I like reading, but I don't like reading
Halloween.
Another moment or so, and get a gauge on what you think about when you hear about bats. Anybody want to share? What do you think?
Can I share what you think?
Sure.
So I put nighttime, echolocation, small critter, flying, and Halloween.
Halloween. Yeah, that. You know what? The week leading up to Halloween is not, even though they're not in the area. Interesting enough. Yes, typically. Anybody else? You got most of that? Okay, yeah.
I'm just gonna read out what
Sure.
I. My first one was cool with an exclamation mark.
Like I said, well, you all chose to be here, so okay.
And then I have echolocation, nocturnal. I put Dracula, and I put fuzzy.
Yeah, right. You got some good marks. You got some good marks, all of you. Anybody else? Go ahead.
I put they are cool. I don't know. I don't like exactly love bats, but I understand their role. It's not like my favorite animal, but I like to watch them in the summertime, so they're in between for me.
That's all right, and you might change your mind after we're done too. Who knows, or not. Anybody else want to share? Yes.
Pollinators and enforcement.
Yes. Yes.
I
Nice.
put sky puppies, that's what I
Yep.
heard people call them
That's what
before,
they do,
sky
yeah.
puppies, I put useful, and then I put rabies. Just
Okay,
because we had
okay.
to, we had to go through the rabies series in my household, so it's
You
top of my
did,
head.
interesting
Yes,
enough,
yes.
yep, okay, so you firsthand know that, yep, okay. They do stay in groups.
Night, dark, echolocation, flying, caves.
Nice, great, you got a lot of knowledge going on, super. Anybody else? Yes,
I put mammal.
mammal, nice, we're gonna cover that, good. Anything else? Great,
Wait,
yes.
so like based off the picture, like, do they consider the moving flocks like birds do? Or like, is there a word for that?
Well, they, over here, they're exiting, this picture is actually coming out from the Bracken cage over in Texas, cave in Texas, so they're coming out like in a large group, but then they're going on and doing their thing. So typically we do Greenland in the area, they're just doing their thing more solitary than in groups. They're just all, if they're in a house or in a cave or whatever, they're exiting pretty much, because they're going out at dusk. So in that way, but then they're gonna go out and hunt their prey.
I got you.
All right, so got a feel on it.
But some of
Just
it.
see a little better. Okay, so
Not
bats,
that
you know, it can be anywhere. So from the front guy, you know, the top guy, he looks a little scary. I don't think he's as scary as some of the pictures I've seen. But,
cotton ball
and
bat.
you've got your little fuzzy ones down here, and then the little white ones I think are really cute. They're little Honduran bats, little tent bats. They all make a long little line in tents, and then, just kind of all cluster together. So I think a lot of the perception about bats is that there are a lot of scary pictures, and we also know the Dracula, as you mentioned, that's just portrayed bats as very scary. So as we go along, we will see what we think. So let's first talk about some bat basics. Okay. You mentioned they are mammals, so they have hair, and they do give birth to live young. So they are in the mammal class. Anybody know how rough the right hand wing, what that might mean? What do you think that might mean?
Their hand has skin that's like wet. The hand is wet in it.
Great. So, okay, so exactly. So they're not a flying mouse, they're not a mouse, they're not a bird. They're just like our bones and such. Okay, so they have the arm, they have like the elbow. Let me get my little, there we go. Then it comes out here, and then exactly what you were saying. So the top of their wing there, that's their thumb, like we have, and then their fingers make up their wing. And then that's the membrane that comes, well, the membrane makes up the wing, the fingers would be like the bones of it. And if we were standing there and we had our hands, our fingers would just drag down to the floor. That's how long they would be. Then you have the membrane. And when they fly, they don't flap, they fly in a rowing direction when they're flying. So that's what their wings, and then their wings are like their fingerprints as well. So again, they've got just like their thumb, their fingers coming through. And then you can even see like his elbow inside. So how many different bat species do you think there are in the world?
17.
2,000?
No, lower than 2,000, 117.
1,742.
No, but that's pretty good though.
Was it
No,
actually?
down lower, but I like that you're
700?
700 higher.
Oh.
Hanson Bass?
800,
No, 842, no, wait.
882.
No?
1232.
No, a little bit higher, one more shot.
1,300.
No, it used to be, it's like, okay, you want to?
1233.
It's been like a high-low game, we gotta go.
Hold up, it used to be, so some of them went extinct?
Well, they discovered new.
Oh,
And they did
discovered
go
new
extinct.
ones.
So there's not like an exact number, but it's over 1,400 of them.
Wow.
So it's about like, last I heard, was like 1,462, and some do become extinct, and some do discover new bat species as well. So over 1,400, that'd be like filling 28 school buses of everybody going down the road. So full of the different bat species in the world. So they are all over the world, all continents except Antarctica. And you can see like the hot spots and see sort of where there are a lot of different species and such as well. So let's see what we get. Where we are, there's that floor over there. But yeah, to give you an idea. But
There's
anyway,
a little bit of yellow.
but so how how many bat species do you think there are in Georgia? We know there's over 1,400 in the world. How many? No.
16.
32. You're close.
15.
20.
What up?
7.
17.
Now,
Six,
we're
seven.
between 15 and 17?
16.
Oh, yeah, 16. Okay, Larry, would you turn on the light for a second? Okay. So I have a poster. And the bats of Georgia. Larry, no, where did you? And so there are 16 different bats. I've got a poster for each of y'all.
Oh, wow.
And the front is the picture of the bats, the back is their location. Again, do you want it right now, or you want to, is it okay if we go ahead and hand it out? You have room at your table.
We gonna keep these?
Don't wanna
Yeah.
hand them, grab them as you're leaving?
We can do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Yo, it's going above my bed.
Okay. So anyway.
I'm having bats above me.
So you've got the 16 bats in Georgia. So the eastern red bat.
Hey, I'm 16.
They're,
I'm sorry.
So, there's about 9 or so, 8 or 9 kind of more so commonly in our area. The eastern red bat, he's in our area, he likes to hang out. The horny bat likes to visit us, we'll talk about that one. Northern yellow bat, not so much, he's more South Georgia. Seminole bat was what we were talking about, we were a little confused, sometimes his calls were like the eastern red, but he could be in the area. Southeastern bat, gray bat is one of the ones that are on the list that's getting, endangered as well, as some of the other small-footed bat, little brown bat, we'll talk about him, but he's really becoming extinct, which is really sad. Northern long-eared is on the list of being endangered. Indiana bat, the silver-eared bat, the big brown bat we know is in our area. Eastern pipistrelle, the evening bat, Rapinus, big-eared bat, he's really rare and most everywhere. And the Brazilian free-tail bat, sometimes you hear that it's a Mexican free-tail bat. He's the one at Bracken Cave, and he's just got a free-tail. Yes.
Aren't they going extinct because of some sort of disease?
That's a large part of it, yes, and I will be talking about it. Absolutely good, that's good, yes. So some of them are definitely for that. So where do you think that the bats in Georgia live?
Everywhere.
Mountains.
Caves, mountains?
Caves, trees, any crevice.
Anywhere.
Trees, abandoned buildings, you what?
I had bats in my freaking attic because my neighbor had a bat box, and so when it got over full, they just went to our attic.
Okay, so back up, you had them in a bat box,
Well,
bat house,
my
or no?
neighbor had a bat box, but it got over full, like they like too many of them were in it, so they were like they're all around, and so they were like looking for a place to stay, and they found my attic.
So they were probably in the area, and they did like the bat house, so you all got them excluded and everything. Wow, so we've got some, this is not always the case. So there's someone who had them in the attic, and someone who had the rabies shot. Okay, so the rabies shot, so normally we sometimes touch on it, but to have people
Well,
who.
and that's, yeah, so our neighbors had bats in there, and man, it was so fun, like coming out
In
on
the
our
attic?
back porch and watching them come out of the, what is the vent?
Yep.
At the top, and then they got them excluded, and for a minute, I did not think, oh, they're gonna come straight into ours, and that's what they did, and
They
so-
did come into yours?
They did come into ours, so we ended up having to get ours excluded, but we successfully got them to go into bat houses out
Yay.
in our yard, so,
Okay.
but every once in a while, we've found 2 in our house, and the first one was years ago, and we didn't think much about it, but the second one, it was in my 4-year-old's room, and so we just went ahead and, we weren't sure like where
Yes.
it started, we all were potential, so they just treated us all as if we were exposed.
And you're exactly right on the nose there. Yeah, that's what they say. If it's in the house, or particularly with little children, and you really don't know if it lands on you. So someone asked if we did have a bat, and no, we don't have a bat with us. So yeah, we talk at different places where they have the little, the reptile, you know, they have the snakes and the turtles, or the hawks and all, but no, we don't have a bat. Okay, so, but the bats have the, could have the rabies, it's less than, it's less than 1% of even, like, the deal is, like, in your case, if they happen to be in your house.
It looked very healthy and very, like,
Yeah.
aware, like, it
Yeah.
was just that.
Right, no,
Just to be
but, so that's just it. So probably you will never encounter a bat. They're up there flying, you'll probably see them, but if you ever encountered one during the day, it may not be doing well. You just contact, like, Department of Natural Resources, just go online to wildlife, and just let them know. You just never wanna handle them. So that's why we respect them, and they do what they're supposed to, but that's very interesting. But yeah, there are certain times of the year you exclude them as well because of, the babies and such. So, we got a lot of these answers. They live, well, near water, first of all, because like, others, animal, wildlife, they all need water to survive. So somewhere near water, trees, snags. Did you know that's the dead tree? I think somebody was telling me you had, yeah, and you had the tree. This is great for wildlife species, just all kinds of species. Dead leaves, they can be, when you're rustling up the dead leaves, they can find all kinds of bridges. So they adapt. They are under bridges. So their cars are flying by, and because we've actually seen them. So they are under bridges, and they're in culverts as well. So they are adapted, and they're all around us. And so, how do they locate their food? I know somebody said it a moment.
Echolocation.
We all know that, of course. So echolocation.
Wild cracks.
So they send out that big loud blast of sound, that big sound wave, that big loud, and it can be as loud as a smoke detector to us, as low as a jet engine. Big loud sound, it goes and it hits either the insect or the trees. They navigate through the landscape, and as they get closer, they do it more often, and then they hone in on it, and then so with their tail, you see he's got like his little tail, where they can either eat the insect as they're like off a leaf or something. But they can also catch it in their tail. Their knees bend back opposite of ours, so the knees bend upwards, and then they can catch it in there like almost like a little basket and eat it while they're flying and keep going. And an example of a sound, the sound wave. Can I just have two of you come up first? Two. That works. So the echolocation, like the sound wave, I give you one end is a slinky. Okay, you just kind of pull it up. Yeah, so, all right. So if you just hit one end, you see it's going back and forth, and that would be like, so your sound wave's going out and it's coming back. You can try it now, let's see. Okay, so that's the way it would do. You send it out and it would come back. That's the way the echolocation would come back. Thank you. Yeah, you can try that. I think it's kind of fun. But that's how, yeah. But so anyway, that's the way when they send out their waves, they they hit it and they bounce back. Are bats blind since they're using echolocation?
Yes. I don't know.
We grew up thinking that because those are myths. Bats are not blind. It's just they're catching prey in the dark. Yeah. So, I was just going to say, some of the fruit bats that are in daylight and do stuff. Do you think that they can echolocate? I've just read this recently, and then about echolocating in the daylight, like the fruit bats, they're in the day and doing stuff. Do you think that daytime bats would ever echolocate? They're not in our area, say in the Pacific and the.
Yeah, I mean they could.
They can see, well, they can all see, but well, I'll just kind of tell you. So I was reading, they can sometimes do like a clicking sound, and they kind of consider that like an echolocation. So sometimes they, yeah. Where was that?
In my house. On our trampoline, oak trees and they'll swing, and like we have light up planes from Walmart and stuff, they'll throw and they'll like attack them.
Oh my God. Wow. Yeah, exactly. So they eat insects.
Food for weeks.
The bats in Georgia only eat insects or insectivores. And the list goes, mosquitoes on down. Moths are one of their favorites. Cranflies, beetles, dragonflies, bees, wasps, spiders, crickets, gadflies, stoneflies. Not lightning bugs. They do not eat fireflies. They do not eat lightning bugs. And they can eat about, what?
Do they kill Jarvis spiders?
Not that I know of. Maybe one day. Yeah, maybe one day. I think they probably still have to figure that one out. And they can eat about 1,000 insect-sized insects in 1 hour. So they can really eat a lot of insects. So where do they go in the winter? Well,
They migrate.
some do, yes. Some will hibernate in the bat caves. And yes, some will either stay here, and some actually even migrate here and stay active in the winter. So, and like into the caves, yes, some will migrate over there.
Puppy.
Pups. So, baby bat.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know. I borderline put that on there. Okay. I was like, okay. But it's so cool because you don't get pictures like that. They have 3 little pups. So I went ahead and put it just because of the science aspect of it. But it's pretty cool. But babies are able to fly and go off, so they're not left actually in the attic or wherever it is you're doing it. And they typically have 1 pup. Sometimes up to 4. They typically have 1. So, this is crazy. Larry, could you turn off the light for a second? So this is just actually a picture of a maternity breast. So when this bat flies in, they actually know where their baby is. And so it's by a sound and by a scent. But they can go out of like all those bats. They leave them at night while they're foraging. They're with them during the day, and they can actually find their baby, their pup. So how long do you think bats live?
15 years.
15, you think? Anybody else? 30 we
I
hear.
say 3.
How many? Yeah, 20 to 30 years they can live. The oldest one in the wild they have noted is, that's fine, you can, is 41 years old. And, he's a hoary bat. He's in Georgia. He's the one who likes to come to the Georgian area. I like him. He's about our largest bat. He's about like, yay big, his the wingspan. And, hoary because of the color on him, that's like a hoary texture they say. The color is, I like a ghost-like texture, also color as well. But, why do you think bats are important?
Free insecticide.
Yeah, insecticide, pollinators. Any other thoughts?
No more mosquitoes.
Yeah, they take care of the mosquitoes and such. And I will say, so Larry and myself, the main thing you can do is just bring about the positive awareness of bats. And you all are I can tell you know a lot about the bats, which is great. Because so many bats, you talk about Halloween and Dracula and all that, they just have an image that's
vampire bat.
really, people are very frightened of them. You just respect them, but the more we can talk about how important and important. Speaking of scary, I'm gonna back up on that. Out of all those 1,400, and we'll call them 62 to 64 species, how many are vampire bats?
3.
0.
It's 3.
There are vampires.
Yeah.
3, yay! 3 out of all those over 1,400 bats are vampire bats, and they get all the attention. Okay, so they don't actually suck blood.
They
What do?
hop around.
They what? Yeah, they do crawl on the ground. They go next to, say, a cow. They're not in this area anywhere. They're like over South America and such. But anyway, they go there and they can sense if the cattle is like sleeping. They can sense by the breathing. They get up on them and they find they can sense the heat on them like a warm zone. So they find this warm spot and they make a slit. They lap the blood, maybe a tablespoon or so. And then they go on their way. They say that the cattle they don't really notice it like they're noticing. And then they go back to where their roost is, and they share with the other vampire bats also. They groom they're very social with the other vampire bats. So for all the bum rap they get, they're really, the fact that they have an enzyme in their saliva that causes the blood to flow, anticoagulant. So that's used in medicine to help with stroke victims and such too, with clots and everything. So it's very important to study them. So anyway, 3 out of the over 1,400 get all the attention. Okay, so they protect our crops, you were saying. Excuse me. There are so many foods that are brought to us by bats that we may not have without it. So by protecting the crops, eating the insects, less pesticide, more crop production. And this corn earworm on top, they get on the corn and they really do a lot of damage. And bats will eat that, and then they eat all the insects. This is just like I say, tip of the iceberg. Citrus, tomato products, all your ketchups, and you think about it, your pasta, that wheat's not on here, and they can save North American farmers and everybody, over $23 billion dollars a year between less pesticide use, more crop production. Okay, another reason, pollinators you're talking about. So we're talking about pollinators next door. So yeah, so pollinators. So he's full of pollen, that little bat in the top corner. So they go and so they pollinate plants, we'll call them, such as for coconuts, for wild bananas, avocados. And so they are big pollinators as well in other parts of the world. Not in our part, but they're very important for that as well. And they are also important because they disperse the seeds. So in their droppings, which is called guano, excuse me, they can fly far distances, so they're like further than birds and such, in replenishing a lot of the rainforest. And so he's got a little fruit right there, but the fig seeds, the almonds, the mango, we'll get back to that in a second, cashews, the mango, excuse me, have you ever seen a mango seed? It's not like that big. So we figure he must be carrying it in his mouth. So some will carry it in the mouth and drop it, And some they'll, like I say, they're dropping.
You talking about the big fruit bats?
I'm sorry?
The big fruit bats?
The big bats, yes. And then, anybody know what that bottom corner picture is?
Is that a loofah? Cocoa.
Yes, cacao, that's right. What is cacao?
Chocolate.
Yay.
Chocolate, yeah. Cacao bean.
Chocolate.
Right.
They are one of the animals basically, that can get into the pods and then they can get the seeds, and their droppings can help spread the plants, which is really good. So we definitely have to thank bats for chocolate. What is that one in the middle here? I know I kind of said it.
Fig.
That's a fig. What is that? Cashews. So that kind of cool looking? I always thought that was kind of cool. The way it's done.
Cashew?
That's a cashew, yeah, a cashew tree plant, whatever you So yeah, so they're very important to disperse seeds as well. What's happening to the bat population?
It's decreasing.
So habitat loss, and this is true of your wildlife in general. So the deforestation. So we see a lot of change in our areas and our habitat. What is habitat? What's habitat mean? That's right, where they live, what the needs that they have and all. So when you change it, all the animals, yes, they have to find a new way of living and adapt, but then they move away. So that is, I'm so sorry, causing a population decline in certain areas. Wind turbines. So where the turbines are, the blades going in, this affects the birds and the bats. As they go, the bats think those are like trees or whatever, but they go towards them and then they get caught with the blades and it kills them. And it happens to the birds as well. So they're working, engineers and different people are working with devices that can kind of scramble when the bat sends out the call. It kind of scrambles our call, doesn't do anything to the bat, and then they just go the other way. So that's been helping. They run them at different times of night, slower speeds and such, but that's definitely been affecting the bat population.
Well, they put a big collar.
And then this was what you all were talking about, the whiteness syndrome. Yes. So whiteness syndrome. This is a real big problem, and a lot of the biologists, it's really in the forefront. I did put on their whitenesssyndrome.org if you want to like research it or anything or look into it. A reference right there. What happens? You see the little fuzzy on him. It's basically like a little fungus. It doesn't bother us, like whatever, like make us sick. But it gets on them when they're hibernating, they're cooling, or moist damp. And what happens, it's not the fungus that does it. They wake up, they're hibernating, so it causes them to wake up, to itch to wake up. Well, they do this several times during their hibernation during the winter. Every time they wake up, there's no insects to eat. They're using their fat reserves. So they die of starvation and dehydration. So they're dying, that's why they die as a result of that. And then it also affects their wings and stuff, but it's really sad when you think about it that way. And the little brown bat, he's almost extinct. He's like 90% extinct because of that. So they used to be in our area, we don't really see them. Hopefully with all their studies, they can slowly repopulate. I don't know, but, and anyway, I just put that on there, just different things they do. They're, they as in scientists, biologists, everybody, researchers and all, study what kind of treatments, they're really working on it. Maybe antifungal stuff, everything's gotta be safe for the bats, safe for people going in there. But if you ever go to a cave, like I know people have been to Mammoth Cave there in Kentucky, you might see signs that say, contaminate your gear. That just means so you're not tracking it from one place. You have to do it, it's not gonna hurt you, but if you have it on your gear, then you happen to come caving, say, in Georgia somewhere, at the caves in west corner or something, then it could transfer it over there. So that's, just try to stop them transferring it. But they're definitely working on ways to help take care of it, to prevent it from spreading and to stop it. And they also continue, but biologists also continue just to study the bats in general, survey bats. They do it in the winter, the spring. They check them out. So anybody who can handle a bat has to have the vaccine for the rabies and the whole series of shots. So they do, and they carefully check their condition. They look at their wings and such. So what we can do to help bats. So we'll talk about this in a moment. I just want to go through this and we'll come back to it. You can put up a bat house, and you can do with the bats coming out, you're saying about the bats. With DNR, they have where you can do a monitoring, where you can submit data as you count the bats that come out, and it helps them know how many bats are in the area. Plant native plant species, there's lists on, the Botanical Garden of UGA that, may attract bats, but just plant native plant species for all wildlife is great, for any wildlife. Provides, fresh drinking water, they come, they skim and they drink, so they would need like a large pond area or a large area of water. But if there's any way, but water for all wildlife species is good anyway to have. Keep your cats indoors. A lot of people don't realize, but cats, they like to go and hunt, and they are, also affects the bat population as well, as far as catching them and such. So, you wanna keep the cats indoors. And the biggest thing that you can do is just share others how amazing they are, how great, the positive attitude, and that's really your role, I think, is just to get the word out, when you are talking to people, they are positive, they are important. So I think that's the, main thing. So any questions right now? You're already a lot. Okay, so we're gonna do a couple of things right now, so first, in a moment,